Take two. Hello and welcome. I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming, the OGGM. Welcome to another OGGM adventure where I talk about things so you don't have to. Now, before we go any further, I am going to address some issues that some people might find offensive, especially in regards to diversity and how Wizards of the Coast is addressing the diversity issue. So, if the topic of diversity and social justice and races and orcs and whatever is something that you find personally offensive, I'm going to give you the chance to throw up the red card now and stop viewing. So, if you think this is a topic that's going to trigger you or offend you, I have to warn you and let you know that I'm talking about that. So, stop viewing now. Okay, if you're still here, you don't care, or you didn't pay attention to my warning. Either way, I warned you, so I'm not responsible. So let's address Jeremy Crawford's statement about how they're changing races and going forward and the social appropriation of Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons product. Is this the hint that we're actually going to see 6th edition a lot sooner than we expected? It's about the time that we should start seeing at least some hints that 6th edition is coming. And all these changes seem to be a good sampling that we are going to see 6th edition probably starting to be advertised and play tested either by the end of this year or going into next year. And Wizards of the Coast definitely needs to change the way they are addressing the issues in the industry because they are doing really poorly. Sales are down, popularity is down. They have basically been kicked out of the awards. They haven't been nominated for anything. The only Wizards of the Coast product that even got close to being recognized by the Ennies this year was something that came out 2 years ago. And it was only one product, and it got one thing. So Wizards of the Coast definitely has a lot of things. And Hasbro, which is a company whose job is to make money, who owns Wizards of the Coast, wants to make money and wants to use Dungeons and Dragons to make money. And Dungeons and Dragons made a lot of money starting, when the whole Critical Role, Stranger Things, D&D is suddenly cool again thing started. But that, as we predicted, tapered off really quick. It was just way too hard to keep that going. And now their money and their income and their popularity is tanking, as expected. I mean, it's not a surprise. Support me. Red Bull, I will shill for you. I have no qualms about selling out. So, with all the social justice issues, all the racial diversity issues, all the bad press Wizards of the Coast has gotten for being accused of not being socially aware, orcs are racist, all that other bullshit, Jeremy Crawford has been constantly repeating over the past couple weeks for about a month or so, ever since the whole Curse of Strahd orcs things happened, that Wizards of the Coast has a product coming out by the end of this year, which more likely because of how production is being held back because of COVID, we're looking at next year, that's going to address these issues by taking away the idea of races and allowing players to pick and choose which abilities and benefits they want their elf, dwarf, tiefling, gelatinous cube sandwich to have. Now, this is not a new idea. In fact, it's an exact copy of what Paizo did with Pathfinder 2. They took away races and instead have ancestries, backgrounds, and archetypes, and then the classes. And each one of these chunks allows you to pick and choose 2 or 3 different things to build your character specifically the way you want it, which is basically doing what GURPS did. Here's some points, build what you want. Here's basically a lot of European and Icelandic and Asian RPGs have done the same thing, where here's some points. Each chunk of character building gets you a certain amount of choices, points, whatever you want to call them. And by the end of this what used to take 3 minutes, now takes 2 hours period, you can build the character specifically the way you want it, which is fine. As long as they say, hey, we're doing this because we realize it's probably a good way to make money, and this is going to be 6th edition because we need to make money. That's fine. I have nothing wrong with using this hobby as a medium to address these diversity issues. And if there's any hobby that should embrace diversity, it's role playing, it's board gaming, it's sitting at the table and play. Play says, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you are, I don't care about your politics, your race, your creed, your color, religion, your sexual orientation, your age, your social demographic. As long as you want to play and create a productive, inclusive, embracing, fun game where everybody can have a good time. Who the fuck cares if you think you're a sheep? It's when you start telling people, well, if you identify as an orc, if you identify as a drow elf, that's wrong because that's racist. Which is basically also saying if you're a man who identifies as a woman, that's wrong. You shouldn't identify as that. We should all just identify as these amorphous, non-binary blobs. That way we don't offend anybody. So by saying, first and foremost, by putting these warnings on the legacy products that, oh, there's things in these products that might offend you because we have orcs and Vishanti and drow elves and dark-skinned halflings and people who eat rutabagas on Tuesdays, this might offend you. And Oriental Adventures might offend you because it has a warped view of Asians based upon, Asians as they were portrayed at that point in time 20 years ago in the media. And we were trying to make a book so we could milk the ninja phase. But now we realize, oh, maybe we, whatever. The way that warning is written is that if you buy this book, if you own this book, you are racist, you are sexist, you are homophobic, you are totally against the ideas, which is not true. One has nothing to do with the other. Hold on, I need a drink because I'm losing track of my thoughts. So, there's nothing wrong with using this medium as a way to address these issues. The way that Wizards of the Coast is going about it is wrong. Because you're taking the diversity out of the game by saying you're trying to make it more diverse. By getting rid of the things that make D&D what D&D is, you're just sort of creating this amorphous, all the characters are just going to be at the beginning amorphous blobs and come out as just sort of these, white, oh, you're a little bit of everything, so you're nothing. And when everybody's special, nobody's special, as Syndrome said. This is not the way to address the social injustices in the world today. This is not a way to use our medium to address things like Black Lives Matter, police violence, the diversity and distribution of wealth in the world, transgender issues, homophobia issues, racist issues, anti-Semitic issues. Saying people, oh, if you like this thought, if you identify as an orc, if you buy these products, if you look at our previous products, that's bad because our previous product is racist. And the only way we can be socially diverse is to basically say, build whatever you want. Here's some ancestries. We're not going to call them races anymore. We're going to call them species. Or just 5th edition folk. When really what they're saying is we're not making enough money right now and we're losing money because of this. How can we make money? Well, 6th edition. And how can we introduce 6th edition? By the same way we introduced 5th edition. Slowly test the waters and see what people bite at. Now, the one thing Wizards of the Coast did right with 5th edition, when 5th edition first came out, is they played 5th edition very close to the chest. They had a very long release schedule. It's only sped up recently, but originally it was like product, then quiet, then another product, then quiet, while other companies were just throwing out products left and right, especially Paizo right towards the end, and a couple of the other companies that were competing with them around that time when 5th edition came out. Wizards of the Coast played 5th edition very close to the chest with the way they released the product. And now this feels like they're doing the exact same thing. They're slowly testing the waters to see what people bite at as they start shifting out of the paradigm of 5th edition into 6th edition. They're looking at their competition, they're looking at video games, they're looking at people's attention span, they're looking at sales, and they're saying, this isn't working. What do we need to do to change to start making money again? Because we made a boatload of money a couple years ago when Critical Role and Stranger Things brought everybody to the yard. Our milkshake's bringing everybody to the yard, and we're cool again, except that bubble has burst. And all those fans are either going to other games or leaving D&D, and COVID certainly has not helped. So, social diversity, using role-playing, using this medium as a way to address social diversity issues, and a way to address the inequality, and a way for people to deal with, image issues, mental issues, emotional issues, physical issues, weight issues, gender issues. I want to role play a Drow elf female, even though I am a 6'2", 180-pound linebacker who served in the military, because secretly I have some sexual orientation issues and I'm working them through by playing a Drow elf female, is perfectly fine and has been accepted since the 70s. I have a friend who cosplays as an orc, who identifies as an orc, who has used being an orc, cosplaying as an orc, identifying as an orc to deal with his body issues and to deal with his rage issues. And years of being accepted as an orc has allowed him to work through his body issues, work through his anger issues, work through his abuse issues. And now he's being told you cannot identify as an orc because orcs are racist and orcs are evil. Imagine how he feels. And it's really, how different is that than telling somebody you can't identify anymore as a woman even though you're a man? How different is that? By saying everybody is diverse, by saying everybody is special, nobody is special. By taking away what makes D&D, this idea that elves and hobbits and dwarves and tieflings and sandwiches and gelatinous cubes are all individuals who take up very individual niches in the world, and only by those individuals working together, working through their differences, can you make the world a better place. But now we're saying, oh no, being different is bad. It's only if you pick and choose and, build yourself and homeschool and whatever, and, get rewarded for breathing, and you've got a little bit of elf in you and a little bit of orc in you and a little bit of dwarf in you, you're not a race anymore. Except by the very definition of species, that's how races, that's how classifications in biology are created. When you merge an elf and a dwarf and a halfling and a sandwich together to build your own little personal special thing because you don't want to be racist, you're actually creating a new species, a new race, a new classification. And soon we're all just going to be these white, amorphous, non-binary, non-classified, non-special individual. And if anybody says, no, I still want to identify as an orc, I still want to identify as a drow, I still want to identify as a sandwich, they're now being told, you're bad, you're evil. And we were bad for thinking that way in Dungeons and Dragons. When really, all Wizards of the Coast, and before them TSR, and before them Tactical Study Rules, and before them Gygax Publishing were doing, which each and every choice was trying to make fucking money. And what they're doing now with each every choice is not using Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing as a medium to address these issues and to push for social change and to create a world where diversity is embraced. And it's fucking okay if you're a 800-pound man who identifies as a 20-pound tiefling girl. That's okay. That diversity is okay. That's what this hobby should all be about. And by taking that away, by changing it, by turning it into these non-special, non-binary, non-specific blobs of white goop, you're not making us special. You're not addressing the issues of Black Lives Matter, police violence, social injustice, economic inequality, the dystopian changes to our future, the lack of education, the lack of funding for education, racism, sexism, anti-Semitism. You're just not even touching on anti-Semitism, homophobia, transgender issues. You're not addressing those. You're not using this as a positive way to change. You're censoring our thoughts. You're censoring our emotions. You're censoring the way we play the game and telling us if you don't play this way, you're bad. And that's not what Dungeons of the Dragons should be about. And Jeremy Crawford has completely lost the point of what the hobby is about. And all his choices are doing is costing Wizards of the Coast money. And I assure you, this book that he's talking about that is coming out in whenever is nothing to do with social justice and everything to do with the fear mongering of these Karens and everything to do with Hasbro saying, look, we're fucking losing money. Go make us some more money. Anyways, my rant is over. If you don't agree with what I have to say, subscribe and comment down below because I won't respond unless you subscribe. And if you do agree with what I have to say, subscribe and comment down below because I won't respond unless you subscribe. Anyways, I'll talk to you losers later.